It's theater time here on KROS. Clinton Area Showboat Theater with us this morning. We are going to be talking with, I guess we'll first jump into Courtney Krause, the artistic director, talk about the show. I'll let him introduce the stars that are with us. Courtney, got a couple of shows under your belt. How's the schedule going this year? You got a couple of shows. You pleased so far?
Got a great group, and I think the shows have been really wonderful, and so I can't wait to open this one tonight, let everyone see this one.
Now, when you stack these shows up back to back to back to back, and we talk about this often, how does that work with the actor? Maybe we'll hear from them because does it get easier the longer they're at their second or third show as the cast maybe gets to know each other maybe a little better, build a little more of that cohesiveness, or is it can you get that done on day one? We're now to show 3.
Yeah, if we pick the right people, which I think we definitely did this year, we can pretty much get it done on show 1. Now, certainly, as personal relationships go, as the summer goes on, they get more comfortable with each other. They hang out with each other more on the off time. But as far as work goes, we're able to pretty much get that camaraderie that we need, on the stage right away, which is just a blessing for us when we get the right group.
As a director, does that make your job easier? Do you hear from other directors? You haven't directed all the shows, but from a director standpoint, does that become a little easier as the cast progresses?
Yeah, always. The deeper you get into a rehearsal process, the more comfortable people get with each other, with me, with the space. Everything just flourishes more and more. The longer you go, and then sometimes you go way too long, and it's like, oh no, we let this go too long. It flourished too much, and now we all hate it. But no, that doesn't happen here. We don't do the shows long enough here for that to ever happen.
To get bored of going out every night.
Once I did 72. I was the Fonz at Circa 21, and we did 72 productions of Happy Days the musical. Too many productions. For me, we do 9 productions or 9 shows. You know what I mean, in out. So we never get tired of them. It's nice.
You ever wonder? You see some of these Broadway actors, and they're in a show like for months, and
I couldn't stand it. I couldn't. They
come out, do what, 8 shows a week?
I couldn't do it. I'd do it the first 2 weeks, and then I'd be bored out of my mind, and I'd be on Broadway probably, and I'd be getting paid as well as you get paid, and I'd be like, this is awful. So it's just not for me. I'm a director. I like to do the one show and open it, and then move to the next one. My attention span works better like that.
Well, your attention span, Bonnie and Clyde, that's what's opening up tonight.
That's right.
You're directing this show,
That's right. Yeah.
Maybe a show people hadn't seen or heard much of. A lot of summer theater productions are shows people may be familiar with or heard of. Maybe they've seen it or not seen it. This is one probably not many people have heard or seen. Do you watch the show? Have you seen it a number of times and now you want to direct it, or was it new to you as well?
I was very familiar with it. This show came out a while ago. I was born in 19... And so, I was younger when the show came out, and I really have an affinity for shows, much like last year's production of Bright Star, shows that have a bit of country, bit of bluegrass, bit of gospel. I grew up in Missouri by the river, much like we are here. And so that style really appeals to me. So I've known it for a long time. I've seen it a few times and wanted to direct it. But I'll tell you, I actually had a different show on the docket this year, and it was just at the last minute. Our friend Ryan Scoble last year, when we were going through shows, it was the day that I was applying for shows. He said, hey, I know you've been thinking about this one, but what about Bonnie and Clyde? I think Bonnie and Clyde would be really good. And I hadn't even thought about that for us, which was crazy. And so I put it on. So thank you, Ryan, for the wonderful recommendation. And so I'm just really thrilled. I had just a tertiary knowledge of the show, and now I know it pretty well, thanks to doing it.
Give us a quick storyline. I come to the show tonight. What am I going to see? What's the storyline? Because I know that's not a big secret. But
love, Dave. Love, passion. No, this is a young couple.
Is it a love story?
It is a love story. I mean, that's what it is at its core. And you couldn't write the musical if you didn't care about these two people and if they didn't have a relationship. I was kind of thinking in a strange way about Romeo and Juliet last night. About how they're both so young and they're both so in love, and they make these decisions, and it just affects everyone around them. And it's a very similar type of thing, that they're about 20 years old. He's a real fast talking, good looking guy. She's a beautiful girl that's stuck in a terrible time and a terrible geographic place in America. And they both have big dreams, and they fall in love with each other. And I think we can all relate to that. We don't all pick up guns necessarily and use that as the tool to achieve our dreams like they do. But, that's what you really relate to is these two very honest young people that are just, as we all are, just trying to get by. In the Depression, no one had a buck. No one had a cent. So it's Will had a great comment earlier today that I know he's going to talk a little bit about. But everyone's just trying to do the right thing in this show. So you don't. I think it's easy to not look at them as the villains that we immediately think of when you hear Bonnie and Clyde. You think, oh, evil. But the show's about love. It's about friendship. It's about forgiveness. It's about family. And it's got some of the best music that has ever been written by its composer, Frank Wildhorn.
Well, I'll let you introduce your guest.
I'd love to.
Well, you already said they're good-looking and beautiful. So
that's right.
I guess now you got. We'll see how that works on stage with all the put together for the characters. But you've already made them given them a big build-up for the audience.
Yes. Yes, I think it's well deserved.
So who do we have with us?
All right,
besides Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, Bonnie and Clyde, of course. Well, playing Bonnie, we have our lovely friend Mandy McGovern. Mandy's from West Virginia, graduated from West Virginia University recently, and is getting ready to head off to New York. And if you saw our season last summer, you saw Mandy Moon. She was the Moon in Addams Family with Ryan Scoble as Fester. She also was Margot in Bright Star, which was my favorite show last summer, and is a very similar show to this in terms of the music. So we're so thrilled that Mandy is back with us. And then for his first summer this year, we've got Will Coffey. Will comes to us from Rider University in New Jersey, and Will also recently graduated. Will's worked at some incredible theaters in his young career so far. And he is also getting ready to move to New York right after this, and I have no doubt that they both will be off to very great things after they leave us.
Well, you mentioned Will. So, Carl, give us a little back. You said New Jersey, right?
Yes, sir.
So tell us background. How did you get into acting and end up in Clinton, Iowa for the summer?
Sure. So I grew up in Maryland. I started performing when I was probably about 11 in the stage capacity. Music's been with me probably since I was 4 or so. My mom tells this story where I used to sit outside the choir room at my church, and I would cry while my older sister sang because you weren't allowed to join the church choir until you were 6. And so finally, when I turned 5, the choir director just said, just come on in. And so music's been with me since then, always been a part of my life. And then from there, when I started performing in theater and doing that, I realized I wanted to do that for college, so I applied and ended up going to Rider in New Jersey. And Rider brings in summer stocks to come and audition. So this year when I saw the season, I was interested. And I walked in with guns a-blazing for Bonnie and Clyde, and the rest is history. Here I am. Was
that the role you wanted for the summer?
Yeah.
Was that the primary role?
Yeah,
if it wasn't, he did a terrible job.
I walked in very strategically and was very strategic about how I addressed my now good friend Ryan Scoble, but at the time not very known to me, and put my headshot down on the table and didn't say a word to him until I got to the X. And it's just, intentional, and yeah.
And you've been in some of the other shows so far? Is this you're in town for this one?
Yes, I was in both Guys and Dolls and Seussical as well.
And what would we recognize you as if
if you remember Hey the Horse from Guys and Dolls, I was Harry the Horse, and I was Mr. Mayor in Seussical.
Mr. Mayor, okay. What attracted you to play Clyde?
To play Clyde, I think first and foremost, I love the music in the score. But after that, and looking deeper into the story, again, Courtney touched on this, but it's truly looking at it from the perspective of everyone is just doing their best and truly actually breaking down working on a character that was a real person that you can read about, you can watch documentaries on, you can watch testimonials as to who they actually were, versus a character you kind of have to conjure with what you've got on the page and essentially pull out of thin air and from within yourself. There's much more to pull from. I love the research of it.
Does that make it, to get into the character of Clyde, does that make it easier? You know what, everybody knows what he was.
Yeah, I mean, Mandy sent me several documentaries and things, and watched testimonials from Clyde's siblings and police officers at the time, and just people who actually interacted with the man who lived. So yeah, I would say so.
Was it Mandy? Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And you said you've been here last summer for a show or two.
Yes.
And you're back for this one only?
I was also involved in the whole season. So I was
Okay.
in Guys and Dolls. I was in the ensemble of that. And then I was in Seussical, and I was a bird girl in Seussical. Bird girl number 3, to be exact. But yes.
What was Bonnie the role you wanted this summer?
Yes. Yes. I it's interesting. Well, like when I was in high school, when I first was like getting into theater, one of the first like musical theater songs that I think I ever really found and like got attached to was How About a Dance, which is is Bonnie's first song in the show. And then I also sang her other solo song later in high school. And for some reason, those songs they really stuck out to me, and I always loved them, but I didn't know much about the story. But it's been a dream role ever since to play Bonnie, and so I'm really happy that I'm getting the opportunity to do that. I love her. She's a very complex character to play, so it's an honor.
Were you as strategic as Will said he was when he went to audition, that was the role he was auditioning for?
I don't know. I don't think so, because my audition was on tape, so it was a little different. But yeah, I think I went in I auditioned for multiple roles specifically, but that one, it was just, I have the deepest connection to. So whether I went in with, I just knew that I felt connected to her, and I was just hoping that came through on the tape.
Well, you get to jump into your background. Where were you? You've been here this second, but where did you come from? What's your background?
Yeah, so I'm from West Virginia. I've only ever lived in West Virginia. I went to school there, but then last summer when I came to Clinton for 2 months, that was the first time I've ever lived anywhere else. But yes, so I grew up similarly to Will. Music was kind of that was from the beginning. Music was the biggest thing in my life, and singing, and I was singing when I shouldn't have been. I was really bad. When I was little, I just sang really loud, and I just had fun, but it was not good. But then my parents really saw that I really loved to sing, so they put me in voice lessons when I was in 7th grade, and just started taking the craft really seriously, but of course still having fun with it. And then when I got to high school, I specifically, because I went to Catholic school up until 8th grade, and then I specifically went to a high school that was huge with the arts, because I was really, really finding interest in it. And then it just kind of took off from there, and went to New York, saw a Broadway show, and I was like, wow, people do this as a job. I would really like to do that. So then I went to school for acting. Through singing and music, I really fell in love with storytelling. So I decided to go be an acting major. And now here I am at Clinton Area Showboat, and I'm so happy to be here.
When you do a show like this, and obviously you can't say Bonnie without saying Clyde. And Will can throw and says, how does that work with you two? Are you able to, because it's almost like you're joined at the hip. When you talk, because every time you see a story, you read something, it's Bonnie and Clyde. It's not just one. Is that the way you have to play the part? That you're connected so closely to the other?
Yeah, I think it's just remembering, going back to what Courtney said, remembering their relationship and who they are and were. They were joined at the hip, essentially. I mean, they're both, Clyde is 21 at the beginning of the story. Mm-hmm. I'm 22. It's no different than that. I don't know. You have anything on this?
Yeah, and I think interesting because you were talking about, there's so much research you can do. These were real people, and anything you read ever, the day that they met, they were together since the day that they met. They never, the only time they were ever separated is when Clyde went to jail, or when Bonnie went to jail at one time. But that's the only time they were ever apart. Otherwise, they were always together. I just think they fell in love really quickly and really deeply, and they didn't want to be away from one another, and they were willing to go through everything to the end.
You can read their letters they sent each other when
Yeah.
they were in jail. There's all this just actual from them stuff. So
And there's other people involved in your life as Bonnie and Clyde. Tell about working with some of those other factors in the show. The show's named after you two, but there's the whole gang of folks.
yeah, there's my lovely friend Trip DeMille plays my brother Buck, and our other lovely friend Vanessa Dominguez is his wife Blanche, and so the four of us as a group have really come really cohesive, and it's just, I don't know.
It falls
Yeah,
into
it's-
place.
It does.
No, it is really interesting because I think also Bonnie's kind of coming into their circle, and Bonnie in real life was not a person who had a lot of friends, and so I think it's really fun to navigate how she interacts with those people, and when she meets them, and relationships that she does create, and they're really complicated. Her and Blanche have a very complicated relationship, but the two women, coming together, and both of their not husbands, we are not married, but both of their men, they're, just the lives that they lead, and trying to navigate that, and finding a companionship, but also butting heads. It's just lots of complicated relationships that are super fun to play with every single night, and they're so, every scene, every time we do them, they're just so alive, and there's little nuances, and we keep developing those relationships, and it's really, really fun.
Maybe Courtney jumps in on this too, because Bonnie and Clyde is set in a very specific time frame, with very specific, I guess, decor lifestyle. Is that difficult to get into that because that's no cell phones, no computers, no iPads, no TV was probably limited. That's a whole different, and that sets up the show. You gotta, and it has to be set in that time period. Is that hard to grasp? Courtney's not that old yet, but is that you have to learn a little bit about that time period?
Learning about the time period, yes, in terms of the circumstances and the Great Depression, but in terms of the technology of it, I wouldn't say so. I'd say the second we step out there, that's the world, and it feels real, and it's
you can step into that world and play the part without a problem.
No problem.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge, they are products of that time period, and that there is no story of Bonnie and Clyde without it being set in the 1930s. That the reason that they were able to do what they did was because there was, no technology and what was going on with the Great Depression. So, and it's really nice to be able to play characters that there was no other stimulus. They're just, there's so many lines in the show where I'm like, it's boring. Like, there's nothing to do. We're searching for excitement, for adventure, and that's what's driving them throughout this whole story. So
Maybe Courtney wants to lean in from the directing standpoint. Again, you're directing something from the 30s. Is that hard to convince to get that in director's head so that things are done? You don't let things slip into everyday what we have now as far as actions, manners, the way people talk, because things change over 100 years.
Of course they do, yeah. Well, that's a big part of our training, both them as actors and me as a director. We have to learn. For instance, there was a whole thing when I was younger. I'm sure they don't have a class like this anymore, but they brought everyone in, and I was okay because I had kind of a non-specific regional voice when I speak. I didn't sound like I was from Missouri or anything, but we really worked on making everyone sound like they're from nowhere. Just they could be from anywhere, right? Because regionalisms, you know what I mean, accents, things like that. And it goes like that with, all aspects of a show. You want to watch out for anachronisms, but we're trained pretty well for that. And, the really good thing about a show like Bonnie and Clyde is there are some shows that people are sitting around talking, and that's the whole show. And in shows like that, the thing that you're talking about, it can be challenging thing to convey to people. But the thing about Bonnie and Clyde is the whole show is action. The whole show is moving. So I would say that, to compare that to now, it's like, imagine those times where you're too busy to look at your cell phone. You're too busy to do this. That's pretty much what's going on with them in their lives all the time. Right from they meet, the time they meet, and he says, hey, what do you say you give me a ride? And then the ride doesn't stop. You know what I mean? So that's what makes it easier, is that the times where we use our technology and stuff like that are when we're sitting. You know what I mean? When we're doing nothing. What am I going to do? I'm going to get on my phone. That's not really a thing for this show. We're always moving. We're always jumping around.
People come to the show, and I guess how does the show flow? Is it slow? Is it fast? You mentioned it's a quick pace. You two are on the stage, I'm guessing, a lot of the time.
It is probably the fastest paced show I think I've ever been in. Last night we were having issues with my tape wasn't sticking to my face because of how much sweat was pouring down my face. I got it to stick. But I would say you are on the edge of your seat from the minute it starts to the minute it's over. You don't want to miss it.
How about you? Does that make a show easier to do if it's fast and instead of the slow pace show? I know some of the shows are a little slower paced than others.
Sure.
I think for me, I guess it makes it easier in the sense of when you're on stage the whole time and you get the through line of the story and you're able to build the momentum. I find it really difficult being in a role where you come on for a scene and then there's 5 or 6 scenes until you come on again, because you kind of have to get yourself back into the world and build yourself up to that momentum. But the show does it for you, and you're just it's just a ride until the end. So you're kind of, once you start, we go out for the first scene and I'm like, all right, it's begun, and we're going till the finish line. So yeah, I think it makes it easier in that sense.
Philip says, Courtney mentioned both of you headed to New York after the summer theater season. What's in store? You got a plan, or is it just going and plan when you get there?
That, yes, it is.
So you have an agent?
Oh, I do have an agent, yes. So my plan is to be in New York and just start auditioning, getting my foot in the door in every room that I possibly can, and just try and see what happens. Yeah.
Will, same thing?
Yeah, about the same. I'm going back, or
You're from
moving
the area, so.
No, I'm from Maryland originally.
Oh,
but,
Maryland.
But I'm moving up there, and I have my agent and moving in for the first time, and getting in rooms and auditioning and recording music and doing all the things I'm passionate about. So
you feel good about it?
I do. I've been waiting to do it for a while.
Yeah. Mandy, what about you? Feel good about the moving?
I feel good. It's scary, but in a good way. I'm ready. I'm ready for the jump. Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I know usually there's some other older actors that you have come in during the summer. I don't know if you've had any of the equity actors that so far that maybe.
I think I'm the old equity actor this summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you give them any advice?
Do I give them advice?
Yeah.
I try to every day. The thing about this is this is such a great place for our audience to come see, what we like to call Broadway on the Mississippi, but even more so for them, this can be an incredible training ground for artists of their age. and myself and Ryan and a lot of the people we bring in, we're very old, and we've been doing it for a while, and we care about them a lot, and we try as much as we can to cram as much, not only the work that we do, but to try and get some knowledge in there to carry with them, because that's what it's all about, taking what they do in Clinton and then moving forward with it when they go to New York and helping them be better performers.
Now, quickly too, as you mentioned, we should mention the Follies real quick next week, where
That's right.
maybe we get to see the actors we see on stage in a role in a different type of atmosphere.
That's right.
Tell us what have you got planned?
Well, Follies is going to be Tuesday, July 28th, which I'm pretty sure is Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. And there's some tickets. If you want to get online, you can get your tickets. And what we do with the Follies is we have our wonderful company members come out, and we're thinking about shows that we're going to do next year. And so what we do is we have them sing a bunch of numbers from a bunch of different shows that we're looking at having, and maybe the audience will even get to help us out and let us know what shows that they like best, from what they've heard. And like we've done today, you get to just learn just a little bit about them before they sing, where they're from, what roles they're doing, and then you get to, like you said, you get to see them kind of out of context from just being in the roles, and you get to just hear them and their incredible voices sing some great tunes.
Okay. Well, too, you've been in Clinton. Says what you think you got some good experience working on the Clinton Showboat and living in Clinton, Iowa for a few weeks.
Yeah, this is my first time in the Midwest for an extended period of time, and I've really loved my time out here. It's a beautiful place, and yeah.
Mandy, you were here last summer, so good to come back.
Yes.
Do you remember everything? Do you remember where places are and where to go?
Yes, I was when I came over the bridge and there's the sign, I almost started crying this year when I got here, because I told people all the time, all my friends and family at home, that after last summer, Clinton became a home away from home for me. It truly did. I met some of my best friends in the world I met here, and I had such a great time last year, so I was so happy to be back, and I'm gonna be emotional to leave again in a week and a half. So, but yes, I'm very happy to be back.
Courtney, anything else you want to throw in about the show, about the Showboat, besides get tickets? Box office opens in a half an hour.
That's right. Obviously, get your tickets. I said it a few hours ago, and I'll say it again. This is the one to see this summer. We're really proud of this. We've got just some great storytelling going on, and like I like to say, the next time you see these people, you're going to have to pay a lot more money and take a long plane ride, because they are wonderful, and we are just so thrilled to have them. Get your tickets. We also have the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee coming up, opening August 6th. And if you're feeling generous, at the Showboat, our budget every summer, we run about $250,000-$260,000 is what it takes to put everything together. That's with payroll, that's with all the shows you see, and we're lucky, Dave, if ticket sales make up 30% of that. So 70% of that comes from donations, comes from fundraisers. So if you're out there, if you're a theater lover, and if you want to do some good for some artists, we'd love for you to come down to the boat, make a donation. You can get online, make a donation. If you're feeling generous, we welcome all comers. Please come and come hang out with us at the boat.
Well, thanks for coming in today, Courtney and Mandy and Will. And we'll see Bonnie and Clyde on the stage starting tonight. Thanks.
Thank you.